This is going to be the first video that gives you advice on how to turn your passion for animal care into a career plan that aligns with your wants. If you're anything like me when I was in high school, you've known you were passionate about animal care, and like many of us at that time, we were told that the only way we would be successful with this sort of passion is to set yourself on the path to become a veterinarian. So here you are, whether you're 14 or 16 or 18, scouring the internet, every corner of anything that says animals, whether it's wildlife, whether it is farm life, whether it is just domestic animals. You're scouring the internet for any kind of information that'll make you feel just a little bit closer to this passion. But somehow, the more you learn, the less it feels like you really know. I am 23. I am finally ready to apply for vet school. I've started my applications, and as I was reflecting on a lot of the things that I started at the age that you guys are now, I have had an array of experiences. I have been an animal care professional for over 8 years, and there is a lot of information that I know that if I learned in high school, definitely would have set me on a more aligned path earlier rather than later. So if you want to just hear some advice from like an older sister or just a friend that is just a few years ahead of you in the journey, and you would like some on the ground real advice, or just like if they could look back and really synopsize some information that could make a difference in your journey, this video is for you. My first piece of advice to you is that you should get experience as soon as possible. The reason why I emphasize this, and I think that it's the first thing that I should mention, is because I started getting experience when I was 12. From the very first moment that I stepped foot into a veterinary clinic, every decision that I made about what that career path looked like for me came from my very first experience seeing it on the ground. When you're outside of it, the ideas and the types of things that you're weighing or what you think is and isn't important is literally just being made up in your head. When you're young, you have no clue what you do and don't want from a workplace, genuinely. And I really can't imagine a world where you can figure that out unless you're getting these experiences. And the reason why I emphasize getting them in earlier rather than later is because the corporate world or the job world is literally meant to exploit beginners. And I'd rather you begin when the weight is on your feelings rather than the weight being on whether or not you will be able to become a veterinarian, whether or not you will be able to eat or sleep at night. So get that experience as early as possible, because it helped me understand things like what kind of boundaries that I wanted to set in the workplace, what kinds of things made it worth it for me to show up every day. I worked in biotech, I've worked as a vet tech, I've worked as a coordinator. In many ways, I've really dipped my toes after graduating. Every experience that I had was broadening my knowledge on what vet med could actually potentially look like for me in my future. Not only is getting the experience really, really good for just your own mental and your own knowledge, it just looks good on your resume. Like, there were so many jobs that said to me when I applied, I genuinely thought you were at least 5 years older. I know that's kind of dumb because we put our age and like when we graduate high school on there, but look, this is just the truth of what I've been told over 3 to 4 different jobs that I was applying in the animal field, whether it was a rescue, whether it was working as an assistant or a tech at a clinic. I don't know, a lot of people have just said the experience that I've had throughout my life really makes me a good candidate for a lot of different things. But really, in my personal opinion, it didn't really feel like that for me when I was going through it. It was just like, instead of choosing to work at a job at McDonald's for my first ever job, I'm just gonna try. I always just kept my head in my field. I never wanted to work a random job. The only job that I worked that wasn't in my field was 100% related to school. So, the second piece of advice that I wish that I had heard or just had been like emphasized to me is don't set yourself on a path if most of the reason why you're on it is because of an outside pressure, whether it be your parents, whether it be a mentor, whether it be the peers around you. If you feel like the reason why you're taking your steps forward and you get this anxiety as you consider what others are thinking of you, stop right now. Stop as soon as possible. And what I mean by stop is don't take another step in that direction unless you feel in full alignment with it. And I know that that's really hard to be told at this age, especially because you don't have a lot of control over the things that you're relying on from those pressures currently, but just work through it sooner than later at some point in your life. I've watched people who work through this feeling after they've done the career path for 20 plus years, and they do this reflection with a lot more weight on them than if you were to do that reflection in this current stage that you're in. I did my reflection, I think the most, my junior year of college. It was like at that point, all of the people who had all these things to say about me leading up to me going to college, all of the advice that they gave me, it's like they disappeared. And they didn't know what I was doing on my day-to-day. They didn't know the pressures that I was experiencing. They didn't know the new information that I was being told or like helping me process that. And you really realize my life is my life. At the end of the day, I have to wake up and do these things every single day. I'm the one that's making sure that I have a cell phone to call on. And even if you're not paying for those sorts of things, you're the one that's gonna have to take control of your life and your career at some point. So you'd rather start early because those people, they disappear at some point, genuinely. And it's just you left to deal with the weight of the decisions that were made. And then with that, I will say my third tip is to really pay close attention to what you enjoy. What did you look at when you were a child on TV that made you smile, that made you excited? Because this field is very broad. Just when you thought you understood how broad it can get, it gets broader. And then with the COVID boom, it made a bunch of new businesses and opportunities available that I didn't even know were a thing. If you're 14, 15, 16, 17, even 18, and your only motivator for choosing a veterinary path is saying, oh, because I love animals, they just make me happy, that's not enough for you. It's not even enough for the people that want to hire you. So if you want to make it a career, look deep within yourself into the details of what you think you're capable of making a difference in. So for example, I always just used to generally say like, I like animals, I care about animals, I think they're fun and interesting. But then when I considered ever helping a fish, I was like, hell no, that's not me. And then when I considered working with horses, I was like, that's not my alley. I never really said horses. When I say animals, I really realized that I meant cats, dogs, or just pets, honestly, general house pets. And then as I continued to gain experience, I actually learned like I couldn't imagine myself being a veterinarian and working on dogs. Just working in the clinic, I just saw how stressful it was. It wasn't for me. And so I realized cats made me a lot happier. The difference between when I worked in a cat clinic versus just a GP with both cats and dogs, world of a difference. The experiences of what normal was, of cats made me happier. I could read cats' body language more. They just made sense for where I am in my life right now. And these kinds of things change and that's fine. But like being clear on where you're going and just like having an idea will help better align you. Because if you don't know what you want, something else will try to determine that for you. And then with that, next tip, find a skill and master it. It could be so simple. Whether it's learn how to handle animals. If you're like 14 and you learn how to like handle both cats and dogs, you could just start with your animal at home. You will be hired way faster than somebody that's 20 who it's their first time working in a clinic, but they have experience in other areas. You have no experience, but you know how to handle an animal and you'll show them that you can. That will probably get you hired. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Every job is just looking for employees that can make their life easier, genuinely. That's it. They're not even looking to like praise you for growing. They're just like, yes, the reason why I set you in this box and criteria is to make my life easier. But anyways, find a skill and master. If you really wanna put yourself at the forefront, you could learn how to do blood draws. That would really get you hired. Do you know how to train? You could sit there and learn how to set up anesthesia, how to monitor, whatever it is that you feel like you're interested in, master a skill in that area, because that just makes it 10 times easier for you to get experience faster. And when you try to be really good at everything, it makes you mediocre at a lot of things. I'm not saying forget all the other skills, but like if you did like 70% focus on one skill and like general knowledge of anything else, it would make you a really, really great candidate for anything that you want to do. And this is a piece of advice I wish I would have taken. Nobody really said anything like that. I didn't really think it would be important to do something like that. And it wasn't until I was older that I started realizing there are some things that I'm really, really skilled in. It's so much better to be a big fish in a small pond. beyond. And my next piece of advice to you is that if you have this dream image of yourself, for example, when I was at that age, I was like, one day I'm gonna have a homestead, and I imagine myself creating a facility to not only get access to animals in need, but access the care that they need as well in that same facility. I really had this dream image and da-da-da-da-da, but I never made any of my actions daily aligned to that vision that I had. So for example, the jobs that I was applying to, the experiences that I was getting, the people that I was talking to, the things that I was saying in school, the things that I was focusing on after school did not align with that image. And it really took me reflecting on that to realize that too. And this is the biggest piece of advice that I wish that people told me when I was younger, which is that if you have this image of your future self, if you do not start doing actions that align with that image of you later, you're gonna be like saying you wanna go right and walking left, 100%. The only way that I ever got to the places that I wanted to be, those dream images that I had for myself, it came from me deciding to start doing those actions in small ways every single day. And then next thing you know, I looked up and something that I wanted to become a habit in my life is just naturally integrated into it. I became that thing I didn't even realize. Every day I was telling myself to try it, to apply it, and now I am that thing and it's here. For instance, just this apartment that I'm in, I'm already at a point where my lease has been signed for a second year, and I'm looking up right now and I'm just like, there was a version of me that said to myself, I want to be able to afford my own space to live in. Here I am now, like thinking beyond this. You do the work, you make a decision every day to say, I want to be just a little bit closer to that thing. And next thing you know, you're already moving past it. It's crazy how life works. And the last piece of advice that I wish somebody told me, you don't have to go to college to be successful. Successful is not determined by your monetary worth. You really, really need to drill that in your head at a young age, because I have met people who have pet sitting businesses that are more successful than people who went to vet school and graduated as vets. I grew up with this mentality that if you decided to be in the animal career and you weren't becoming a veterinarian, you're gonna be broke, you're not gonna be able to live your life, you probably wanna get a partner that's rich, or like, you're just gonna live an average, mediocre life. You're not gonna be able to be the type of person to afford a homestead in your future, kind of thing. But the closer and closer that I got to these careers, and the more I learned from people who took an array of paths to get to where they are in their animal career, you can get rich off of being a pet sitter and having a pet sitting business. You can get rich off of making nail caps for cats that are designed. You can get rich off of learning how to train animals. You can get rich off of being a vet, and you can become poor from any of those options too. It all has a lot to do with who you are and the system that you create to maintain the life that you want to live. So if you can, do not base your decisions off of the potential payout. That's how I started, and I literally stopped and took my gap year because I realized that wasn't worth it to me. I did a biotech job that paid me really well out of college, and I literally quit it. After 7 months of working there, right when I was gonna get a sign-on bonus, I was just like, the money isn't worth it. It's not a motivator. I do not want to sit at a desk and pretend I didn't finish 8 hours worth of work in 2. This isn't to say that college isn't a good idea, because mind you, I just want people to choose college intentionally. For example, I recognized when I was in high school that I actually do have a love for biology. I do have a love for learning. I just don't like the way that I've been taught. However, if I can take the way that people teach currently and like rework that in a way that works for my brain, it makes me love my education more, and it makes me want to do things like continue on this path and pursue my DVM, because it really is the only legal way for me to learn more information that can heal them and then share that with other people. And so those are the decisions that I made when I decided to go through with vet school, not because I think it's gonna give me like $140,000 a year. I've watched too many vets that are just like sad and broke and feel stuck in their position to do that or to think that way. So yeah, I hope this video was useful. I know that there are a lot more nuances to making caring for animals or animal welfare your career choice. I do think it's really important for people to just keep being transparent with others as they go on their journeys. I felt like I would be doing a disservice to my past self if I didn't share this with others. Base your decisions on what empowers you to wake up every day. Then try to learn from people who live like that. And if you don't know what empowers you, get some experience to figure that out. We want to be well-rounded individuals out here. I hope this was helpful. If you feel like you want me to go more in depth into some ideas or concepts that I talked over, I would love to do that. If you have any more questions, I will 100% answer them in another video. So we shall see based on how you guys respond. I appreciate you for watching this video, and until next time.